It was good. Can we talk about the movie? I want to talk about the movie because there was like so much hype for this movie, you know? There was like so much attention that was given to it, and there was so much precedent to set it up as like this like politically relevant film. Oh, like from a movie making perspective, I'm not a fucking movie critic. I thought it was a good film. I thought maybe I thought maybe the movie relied a little bit too heavily on its cinematography. The movie was shot like phenomenally. It was amazing to look at, and I mean, fucking Joaquin Phoenix's performance was easily Oscar worthy. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. So the movie was gorgeous to look at. I mean, anytime Joaquin was on film, like all the emotion, like everything was being sold phenomenally for me. I was gripped the entire time. Not to say the other actors did a poor job or anything. Just he was in the position that afforded him the most range, and he really took advantage of that. However, the problem with having really, really good cinematography is that as somebody who isn't trained in film critique, I'm blinded by the aesthetics of a great film. Cinematography contributes to that. This is something that Quentin Tarantino does a lot as well. Just looking. Yes? Oh my God, a cat rammed into the door. Jesus. Just looking at the movie, I feel like I'm watching like a 10 out of 10 film. Like, oh my God, you know, so sublime, so surreal. It's gripping me. Ah, what's real, what's not? Phenomenal. It looks amazing. So much emotion read on the actors' faces. The pacing, the time, everything felt great, you know. But I recognize that sometimes it's easy to get blinded by the aesthetics of greatness if there's not much behind it. So I thought it was I really did think it was a really good film. I thought maybe it over relied on like the slow-mo drama shots at a few points. I feel like it was a little bloated at times as well. I feel like maybe you could cut it down 10 or 15 minutes. There were definitely some parts in the movie that I felt could have been cut down. There was slowly building this tension up through the movie. Maybe too much of the movie was dedicated to the sort of interim period between him, no spoilers yet, doing the first real bad thing he does, and him kind of embracing his psychopathy, you know. Maybe, possibly. That's how I feel. Maybe a little bit could have been cut down from that. But what I really want to talk about beyond that is the politics of the movie. I mean, of course, I'm a fucking politics stream. What do you want from me? Wait, you know, what do you want? Okay, by the way, spoilers. So, okay, listen, I'm just going to say this flat out. I'm going to try my best not to spoil the movie in like a substantial way. I feel like I'm going to explain this in a way that would leave the movie every bit as enjoyable for you, even if you hadn't seen it up until this point. However, if you want to go in completely spoiler-free, just dip out for 20 minutes, okay? Just come right back, all right? I say this out of love. I don't want you to leave. I love having high viewership, okay? I'm doing it for you. I'm protecting you from yourself, okay? Okay. With that being said, the movie was, like someone in chat just said, all about a buildup of tension. It reminded me a lot of Taxi Driver. It's a movie about society failing someone and their internal tension reaching a breaking point until they become like a villain. You know what I mean? Not a villain in like the classical supervillain sense, but a villain in the sense that they have their morals have broken from societies to the extent that they become, yeah, you know, society. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But so there was a ton of political hype going into this movie for a number of reasons. For one, the "we live in a society" meme has been around for a pretty long time now, since like 2017, and it tends to have fairly political connotations. I can give you an example. This has always been really sad to me. So, Reddit gamers rise up. This was one of the big, like, "we live in a society" meme houses, you know? Originally, this subreddit was a satire subreddit dedicated to making fun of overly edgy, like, gamer types. So it would be like, "Vanessa wouldn't go with me to the ball. Chads suck. We rise up." That kind of stuff, you know? But unfortunately, because, you know, that's the risk of satire, you risk bringing in people you're making fun of who don't get the joke. This sub is now unironically like a racist sub. Paul is a gamer. Hi, wondering if this is still available. Sorry, this is a gaming laptop, not selling it to a woman. It's not a sewing machine. Haha. The line is kind of difficult to like clarify or substantiate. It's hard to delineate when exactly it stopped being a satire sub. But if you look through the comments now, there are unironically a lot of people here who will start talking about crime statistics, like 1350 and stuff. Originally, when the sub was making fun of like racist gamers, it would be like, black people, Tyrone took Vanessa, I hate black people, I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna say the N-word, rise up. But now if you go in the comment section, sometimes there will actually be people being like, yeah, I bet Tyrone did get Vanessa, right after fucking raping another white pussy, just like they always do, spreading their seed and like destroying the white race, like legitimately, like, you know, oh yeah, well naturally 13% of the fucking population commits 50% of the Vanessas, am I right, boys? It's all that stuff, you know. We could go over it. Maybe I can go over it substantially sometime, because I can't like start comment digging for stuff to find something that reinforces my point. It's more of a subtle change in the culture of the subreddit, but the point of the matter is that subreddit sort of shift indicated that there are people who use this Joker absurdity as a kind of dog whistle to express their feelings on reactionary issues. And this became even more clear with the Honkler meme. And we all know Honkler. Yeah, we all know. Yep. Third image, look at that. Nice. That's the... Man, if you type in Honkler, that comes up really quickly, doesn't it? Just some Zyklon B laughing gas. Nothing to worry about here. So that happened. Clowns and political engagement have been associated now for a while. And the reason for that is because a number of people have... Oh, God. You know Clown World? The point of Clown World is that we now live in this absurd, like parody of a functioning society where nothing makes sense, up is down, right is left. When we lefties express that same sentiment, we tend to say hell world because we don't want to be confused with the people who typically are Nazis when they say clown world. And we're complaining about different things. When we say hell world, we usually mean like, holy shit, having a heart attack and getting treatment at a hospital costs you $98,000. Holy shit, education prices are skyrocketing, but the quality of education is decreasing. Holy shit, none of our politicians are receptive to the interests of the people. Holy shit, the empire is falling. Hell world. And when they say, so late stage capitalism, and when they say clown world, they mean kind of the globo homo thing or the Jewish conspiracy. They mean like, oh yeah, men can be women now, trannies. Oh yeah, white society is being bowled over by big nose friends and, you know, towel head friends and that sort of thing. So we use it functionally, it's the same meme, but we use it to express the ills of late stage capitalism, something cogent, something that can be responded to with policy, something backed by theory, and they use it to dog whistle for sort of like reactionary talking points, like how disgusting trans women are, or how immigration, where the white man is being bowled over, or how nobody can get like the glorious virginal white girlfriend to suck your cock while you fucking play Roblox or something. I don't fucking know. But the sentiment is the same functionally. There's something wrong with the world, and it sucks, and it's irrational, and we need to do something about it. And it's in the absurdism of living within that irrational world that we and that the Joker all sort of develop this discursive response to whatever problems we see. I don't think the Joker, the character, the Joker, is politically inclined. I think that the character, the Joker, is just upset for very legitimate reasons for the most part, and also deranged. Again, I think the movie made that pretty clear. Whereas the problems that incited his behavior are the lens through which we can frame whatever political message the movie has to show. So let's think about it. I mean, the Joker lives in a clown world, does he not? I mean, think about what happens in the movie. His social programs are cut so he can no longer get his medications or weekly therapy visits. The city is embroiled in class warfare. The Wayne's Thomas Wayne is depicted as a bougie, out of touch aristocrat socialite who has no interest whatsoever in helping the working poor. He dismisses the working poor. The wealthy in this movie, when they're shown, are either ubiquitously horrible people or indifferent to the needs of the broader population. The whole movie kicks off with a garbage strike with some of the service workers, some of the lowest level service workers of the city saying enough is enough, fuck it, we're not doing your job anymore. And the newscast at the very beginning of the movie is talking about how this is a problem because it's interrupting business owners' ability to attract customers, rather than the hundreds of thousands of people who are now going to be living in shit. The movie is about class warfare. Unambiguously, unquestionably, the movie is about class warfare. It couldn't possibly be more obvious. From the ranting about how the world doesn't care about, like, people like us, when the social worker says this, her probably being almost as poor as the Joker was at that point in the film and is now jobless following the cuts to Social Security, to the fact that the socialites and aristocrats haughtily, arrogantly blame the poor for their own inability to rise above their circumstances, blame the poor for their spitefulness, targeting the rich in response. It's class warfare. It's condemnation of the rich. And that doesn't make what the Joker does good. The Joker is a villain. It's the Joker, okay? You know, like, he's not a hero of class warfare or anything. He's not some guillotine pulling, like, the destroyer of landlords. The Joker is, archetypically, like an agent of chaos, and that's kind of what he is in this movie. There's a whole bunch of pent-up frustration, a powder keg of anger and incitement from the working poor towards the wealthy of the city, and he ignites it with the subway murders, which were, by the way, Wall Street guys who were claimed to be family to Thomas Wayne because he works for them, even though they have never met in their lives, and who said that they were good boys who came from good schools, underlying the fundamental classism that sort of describes how people are treated in that society. So all of this is pretty obvious, right? I mean, all of this, I think, should be pretty obvious to any left-leaning person who watches the movie. We can talk about how the movie is a critique of how the wealthy not giving a fuck about the poor leads to impotent societal problems that cause problems for everybody. We can talk about how the defunding of social programs were ultimately kind of what led to the Joker becoming the Joker. We can talk about the fact that the distance the wealthy had from the poor kept them from sympathizing with and therefore addressing the problems they were experiencing. I mean, there's really no way around it. The clown world in the Joker is late-stage capitalism. Slightly less late-stage than ours, though, because that movie takes place in the 1980s. So, we're even further along. But yeah, no, I mean, that was the political message of the Joker. I mean, I don't think there were any indications of reactionary, even dog whistling. I would be willing to bet they were careful about that, too. The poor in that movie are habitually shown to be both black and white, to be people of all races. The antagonists throughout the movie are white, which in a movie about class warfare makes a lot of sense. The Joker's girlfriend is a woman of color. I don't think there's any point of the movie, any part of the movie, that could be interpreted in bad faith as a condemnation of immigration or race or what have you. It's the show, I think, or the movie, I think, did a very decent job of indicating its leanings. And that all kind of came to a head with the bit at the end. He was on the talk show. And when he was asked if he was making a political statement, he said no. And I think that's the important juxtaposition that should be focused on here. It is the union of the Joker himself, the characters, apolitical nature, his inability to functionally grasp the problems with society, his retreat to absurdism, juxtaposed against the very, very real socioeconomic problems that spark off the rest of the conflict in the movie. And that's it. I think that's the political message of the movie for the most part. You can probably dig in and find a bunch of real fascinating stuff, you know, if you really pick the pieces apart. But I think that's basically what the movie was designed to say in regards to its political message. There's something wrong with society. Class warfare is a real thing. Economic impoverishment is a killer, and whatever clown world we're living in isn't a product of like progressivism or anything along those lines. If anything, the Joker is actually shown at several points to be kind of like a bad person in the reactionary sense himself. Remember at the end where he like kissed that doctor on TV for like 15 seconds or something? And then everyone was really uncomfortable. And there was this clear play between like, we're on television, you have to play it cool, and also, holy shit, that was disgusting. You know what I mean? Because he basically just like sexually assaulted her. The protagonist just sexually assaulted somebody on TV. That was pretty bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad, but that's the point, right? He's not supposed to be a sympathetic character. He is in the beginning of the movie, but the way he interprets it, the way he plays with it later on, I don't think it's meant to be sympathetic at all. Yeah, she was also a sex therapist. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry, she was a sex therapist. The consent is implicit. My apologies. Oh yeah, totally. Whatever the case may be. Yeah, and the funny thing is with this movie is that all of the media hype around it was on this fucking incel craze. It was like people like, oh, like security's increased on the theaters. Everyone's worried about the next Joker shooter. It's just some shit like that. You know what I mean? I don't really think that his plight was incel-ish. He doesn't really pursue women that hard. There's clearly a juxtaposition between his insecurity and his sense of impotent masculinity, because the one time he feels empowered is when he charges over and starts kissing that black lady. So obviously sexuality plays into his feelings and thoughts. He has the naked ladies in his little notebook. But with that being said, it didn't really feel to me like an incel film. You know what I mean? In my opinion. Which is probably for the best. I would be willing to bet, though, that the level of hopelessness, the level of like despair or disenfranchisement or dispossession that the Joker experiences in the first 2/3 of the movie probably hit home with a lot of you guys, though, didn't it? Those of you who have who are lived in fuck situations or like have really severe depressive episodes. I mean, I can imagine that for some of you guys, it might actually feel a little bit gratifying to see like tens of millions of dollars being put into a project that sympathetically depicts somebody who's that like fucked in life. You know what I mean? Because normally when like a character is fucked in life in media, they still have like this one redeeming character. Like there's something, you know, and they pull themselves out through because people finally see them for who they are, or something like that. It always goes that way. But in this case, that doesn't really happen. He embraces the absurdism, and he's more confident towards the end. But it's not like it's not really like a cheery, happy, positive conclusion to his confidence and mental health issues. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. I thought it was a good film. That's my final. I rate it 8 out of 10. That's I'm doing the little clicker clack thing. You know?